Trump refuses to sign housing bill until Divisive Save Voting Act passes Congress. That's the headline out of Washington today. And if you're wondering how a rare bipartisan win on housing costs turned into a political firestorm in the span of a few hours, buckle up. Here's what happened. Congress spent more than a year hammering out a sweeping housing affordability bill, 380 pages worth of federal regulation cuts and local development incentives, the first major piece of housing legislation to pass in over 30 years. It cleared both chambers this week with overwhelming bipartisan support, a genuine rarity in today's Washington. Lawmakers on both sides were ready to celebrate. The White House had even put out a supportive statement about the bill Tuesday night. Then Wednesday morning hit. Just hours before a scheduled signing ceremony at the Capitol, President Trump posted on social media that he would not sign the bill, calling it of minor importance until Congress first passed the Save America Act, an unrelated bill that would impose new restrictions on voter identification and mail-in voting. That bill has been stalled in the Senate, blocked by Democratic opposition that has kept it from clearing the 60-vote threshold needed to overcome the filibuster. But the voting bill wasn't the only thing driving Trump's decision. According to two people familiar with the matter, the president was also furious that the Senate voted the day before to instruct an end to the war with Iran, a move he said could interfere with ongoing negotiations between Washington and Tehran. He reportedly lashed out at Senate Republicans over those four defectors during a highly contentious private lunch that same day. The timing of it all was almost cinematic in its awkwardness. While Trump was posting that the housing bill pales in comparison to his preferred elections legislation, House Republican leaders were at a weekly press conference championing that very same housing bill. Representative Tom Emmer of Minnesota, the number 3 House Republican, declared his party would be the party that governs and delivers, apparently unaware of what the president had just posted. And then there were the advocates, lobbyists, and housing groups who had spent months pushing this bill across the finish line, some of whom were literally on their way to the Capitol for the signing ceremony when they got an email saying it had been canceled due to scheduling changes. Sharon Wilson Gino, president of the National Multifamily Housing Council, was on the Washington subway when that email landed. Seamus Roller of the National Housing Law Project, who had told his deputy just the day before not to count their chickens, well, the chickens did not hatch. Now, the bill isn't necessarily dead. If Congress is in session, legislation can generally become law 10 days after it's presented to the president, even without a signature. But it wasn't immediately clear whether the bill had even been formally presented to the White House yet. Trump also didn't specify whether he intended to veto the bill outright or simply skip the ceremony. What is clear is that Republicans lost a chance to point to a concrete legislative win on the economy, one that spoke directly to the housing costs squeezing millions of American families. Senator Susan Collins called the announcement a complete surprise, noting the bill had strong bipartisan, bicameral support. Senator Chuck Schumer accused Trump of running away from one of the very few accomplishments that could actually help the American people. And Senator Elizabeth Warren, the top Democrat on the banking committee who helped negotiate the bill, went on CNBC to say the decision made clear the president is showing complete indifference to the cost squeeze on American families. The bill itself, for the record, included some of Trump's own priorities, including a new prohibition on large investors buying up single-family homes, something he had tried to address earlier this year through a more limited executive order. Trump has long argued that the real driver of housing affordability is lower interest rates, not legislation, pointing to 30-year mortgage rates hovering around 6.5% as a key barrier to homeownership. Whether the housing bill ultimately becomes law with a signature, without one, or not at all, what Wednesday made clear is that even a hard one, broadly popular bipartisan deal can unravel in Washington before the ink ever hits the page. That's the story for today. Stay tuned to see how this one plays out.